All right, let's turn to some more terrestrial affairs here. Rudy Giuliani is facing charges over defamation. He's embroiled in a lawsuit there over comments that he made about 2 Georgia election workers. Let's put this up on the screen. So it's kind of an extraordinary admission that he just made in a court filing. This is a Forbes tweet, they say, after about a year and a half of battling in the courtroom. Rudy Giuliani stated Tuesday night that he lied about 2 Georgia election workers stuffing ballots, committing election fraud, but did not say that he had caused any damages to them despite harassment that the 2 had faced. This from the New York Times report. They say that this concession by Mr. Giuliani came in court papers. And basically, he's admitting that what he said about these people was completely wrong, that it was a complete lie, that, I mean, he smeared them and it happened multiple times, et cetera. But he's saying that he still has legal defenses because he doesn't believe that they suffered any damages. So that will be the major piece that they will be deciding in this lawsuit. So just so you get a sense of what allegations he was making about these 2 election workers that led to this defamation suit, here he is on basically a Zoom call talking about what he thinks was going on in Georgia with these 2 election workers. Let's take a listen.
Quite obviously, surreptitiously passing around USB ports as if they're vials of heroin or cocaine. I mean, it's obvious to anyone who's a criminal investigator or prosecutor, they are engaged in surreptitious illegal activity again that day. And that's a week ago, and they're still walking around Georgia lying.
So it's a bold accusation, basically comparing them to drug dealers. It was immediately debunked. They were passing mints back and forth to one another, nothing more nefarious than this. But nevertheless, he repeated it multiple times, and it became a part of the whole litany of the case that the election was stolen. And it was also repeated and really taken in by the president, who apparently invoked one of these women's name 18 times during that infamous phone call with Brad Raffensperger, Georgia Secretary of State, on January 2nd, 2021. That's the one where he asked for him to find the requisite number of votes for the former president to be able to win the state, which, you know, is leading to quite a bit of legal scrutiny for him as well. So, you know, I think it's important because it just shows you what a load of crock this was. And it also shows you that many of the people involved, Saagar, knew it was a crock.
Yes.
And we're happy to ruin the lives of these women in pursuit of foisting a lie on the American people.
I think it's actually not only criminal, and I think it's disgusting because how many, you know, well-meaning Republicans out there, average Joes, they hear Trump, they're like, wow, that's horrible. They hear the freaking former mayor of New York. I mean, one of them at the time was one of the most respected politicians in the entire country, talking about people passing USBs back and forth. You know, if you're one of those people, you have no reason not to believe, or at least think, wow, that's a little bit crazy. How do you know whenever he's lying? Or how many people are going to watch this segment seeing that he admitted that he's a liar? That's why I think it's so gross. I mean, I know personally a lot of people, and I've had some crazy interactions. I remember a guy, an Uber driver once, he's like, do you really believe the election wasn't stolen? He's like, you just seem like a guy who would believe it. And I was like, well, I guess I could understand why you would think that, but I had laid out, you know, the cases. They lost every single one. He's like, yeah, but these judges, you know, that's rigged. I'm like, really? It's rigged? And like across like all these red states, actually?
With all of these like Trump-appointed judges and whatever?
People are throwing it out. It's like, well, that's kind of interesting. And then all of them, inevitably, it comes back to Giuliani. And it's like, no, but Rudy Giuliani said this stuff. So I don't think you could really, you know, underestimate how important Giuliani was to the lore of Stop the Steal in a lot of these people's minds. And that's why I think it's particularly disgusting what he did.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. He used the credibility that he built up as America's mayor, not only to try to mislead the entire country, and let's be clear, some 60 to 70% of the Republican base still believes that the election was stolen based on things like this, him alleging that these 2 women, mother and daughter, were passing USB ports back and forth when really they were passing mints back and forth. And again, he knew that. He knew it, and he lied to you about it because it served his purposes at the time. It is utterly and completely disgraceful. And it also enrages me. I mean, these are just 2 regular women who it is a genuine civic duty to show up and work the polls. Yeah. You don't get paid for it. It's a pain in the ass. You got to deal with all kinds of, you know, people who have whatever going on. It's a whole thing. And they were willing to do it. They were there, State Farm Arena, Fulton County, doing the thing late at night, et cetera, et cetera. And they were, subjected according to what they have to say. And I completely believe it because I remember hearing this claim at the time. I mean, this was like one of the core things that was being circulated in within the circles that were believing this stuff. They say their lives have been completely upended. Private citizens who now are being accused of this incredible, nefarious crime just casually by a very powerful individual. So it really is disgusting. That the other piece of this is there's been a lot of conjecture about what exactly is going on with Giuliani right now. We, of course, are back on Trump indictment watch. Looks like the Jack Smith investigation into what happened on January 6th and fake elector scheme, that may be drawing to a close. We may get charges in that relatively soon. And Giuliani has been talking to the government about whatever he knows with regard to that. And there was some question over whether Giuliani may have flipped and may be providing information to the government, may be working out his own deal. He denies it, to be clear, but I think there's still a bit of a question mark there. And the other question mark on that front is Mark Meadows.
Oh, yeah. Well, Meadows in particular, actually, there was a video circulating yesterday where he was walking into his office and he was repeatedly asked, whether he had any comment about the case and the grand jury and all that. And, there were some federal prosecutors who said that given his level of non-response, that he'd certainly seem like somebody who could be cooperating with the government. Apparently, Trump's own people think he's cooperating with the government. So who the hell knows what's going on there? And, as a reminder, as a former White House chief of staff that we're talking about here. So it would have been extraordinary. I mean, he was in the room, like when a lot of that stuff was going on.
He was integral.
Yeah,
I mean, he really was at the center of it. So we'll keep our eye on that one. Hey, guys, if you like that video, go to breakingpoints.com, become a premium subscriber, and help us build the best independent media organization on the planet.
That's right. We're subscriber funded. We're building something new. We want to replace these failing mainstream media organizations.
So again, to subscribe, it's breakingpoints.com.